Oh, okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of On Point EDC. Today we have a really cool review for you from the brand Peña Knives. Now, a little bit about them. Of course, Enrique Peña is a custom knife maker known for pioneering the fusion of traditional designs and modern functionality. Now, his X-Series line was basically born from the desire to bring a collection of production knives to the market of the highest quality tolerances, pretty much like his own custom offerings, but at a lower price point. Of course, these production knives are the perfect union of top tier design and function. Basically, that high performance, also adding high performance steels and materials. So really cool from that standpoint. This is the second Peña X series that I've reviewed here. Of course, I have my front flipper trapper, which we can bring in to add a little bit of scale. But here, what we have is your X-Series Mula. Now, this type of knife, I'd say at a base form, if you define it by either the actuation or the locking type, of course, this is a thumb stud flipper, but mainly its locking mechanism is it's a titanium frame lock. A little bit about this type of knife. Of course, the Chris Reeves integral lock is kind of the technical name for it, and it basically is just an evolution of the Walker liner lock. So instead, though, of having a liner there made out of steel, you're just going to basically have that titanium handle integrated into the frame locking mechanism itself. So that lock bar is part of the scale versus being a separate piece. Now, with all that said, let's go ahead and take a closer look. Okay, guys, now before we jump all the way into this epic knife, really quick wristwatch check. If you guys are fans of the channel, you'll probably know that I mainly do watch reviews as well as EDC gear. So the watch that I have on my wrist today is actually a new Seiko automatic tuna, the Urban Safari model. So keep an eye out for the review on this bad boy. It's really, I mean, I love it. I think it will really speak to the kind of EDC crowd because of course it's a tool watch at its core, and the nice thing is it's actually very, very affordable. So you're taking a very iconic watch from within Seiko's lineage, and this is actually kind of a more upstyled version, but also quite downsized in price. So I think that's really cool because these are typically like, you know, $1,000+ watches. So I'm happy that they're offering them like around 400 bucks. So while I'm reviewing this excellent knife, that's what's flopping around on my 7¼ inch wrist there. Just one last point of focus. Anyways, so here we go, guys. Peña X series. Here we go. Boom. So not quite the size of this little gentleman's folder here. I mean, I absolutely love my front flipper trapper, but I'd say size-wise, it's most comparable to this guy right here. So you can see my little bug out. So very similar in length. Overall, when you look at the blade length and you look at the handle, it's probably just a little bit shorter when it comes to that the handle there, but generally they're very close. And then on the other side, it's basically just a hair smaller than your typical 940. So as you guys can see there, if I just line up the pivots a little bit, you can see that they're all relatively close in size, but you guys kind of understand that this kind of falls in between these two norms. So if you haven't handled a Peña knife before, whether it's the custom or one of these X-Series knives, it gives you a little better idea. So this is the Mula, and basically it's just a production take on the very popular custom. And man, this thing is nice. One of the things I did want to talk about quickly was there is, of course, a little bit of design language that carries over. Look at the clip with that little kind of fuller in there. I think that's a nice touch. So there is, you know, definitely some brand language that carries over. Also, when you look at kind of the complexity of the grind and the beautiful kind of multi-directional pattern there on the satin, you can see very similar here as well. So really beautiful knife from that standpoint. You know, not a perfect knife by any means, but I love all the little details. One thing you'll notice here is that it is not really milled out at all. So this is a pretty hefty and substantial feeling piece, far from something that, you know, when you think of kind of a lightweight EDC like a bug out, even this on the aluminum scales is still super lightweight. Versus here, this feels a lot more hefty. So that would probably be my only point of critique on this one, honestly. That and the lock bar is pretty sensitive. So if you are trying to flip this guy and you rest your finger on the lock bar, it's just going to eat your thumb because it's going to be so hard for you to actually deploy that. Like you can see there, just by me resting that there. But if I arrange my finger there, put it on the clip, all of a sudden, boom, totally dialed in. I mean, you can even kind of front flip it if you take your thumb here. Oh, oops, sorry, I didn't want to hit the camera. So I'm trying to be a little bit, you know, I don't want to hit the camera and I don't want to hit the desk. There you go. So I'm trying to be a little bit cognizant of my space here while I have a tripod and a camera, of course. Now, yeah. This thing is sweet. I gotta say, I love the size. As you can see, it fits into my hand really well. These go for $274 from select dealers while supplies last. They probably will sell out rather quick, but man, are they nice. As you can see, once I move this lock bar over, that thing wants to drop. And then it's pretty much just a little shake. And it is a pretty relatively thick blade stock there. And man, this thing flies as long as you don't have your finger on there. It's extremely dialed in. I love the D10 on this. I just have to always be, I think even if you rest your fingers down here, it doesn't put as much pressure on the lock bar. So you don't necessarily have to put them here on the clip, but if you put them like right there, it still will flip just amazing. Just flies right out. And really you don't have to worry about misfiring it. Beautiful, beautiful action on this piece. Love the little details. I love the chamfers and bevels that go all the way around the handle. And then, of course, really nicely done on the finishing of this milled clip. I like the cutout, you know, normally this will just be completely cut out and just be one little U shape. Here you can see the multiple wedges, which is nice. And it kind of ties in with the notches here on the back spacer and the hidden lanyard pin there, which is nice versus just having a drilled lanyard hole. I think it definitely helps retain a really nice, clean, beautiful show side. And then even on the lock side, it actually looks really clean, especially with the way that they aligned the clip to really center up nicely with that seam. And then if you look closely, you'll see some really great beveling work. If I can get it to focus here, there we go. Look at the bevels all around the edges there of this clip. This thing is really well done. Another nice pop of color here, a little outside of the norm. You do get those nice little kind of bronze decoration, there's a word that I'm looking for. But basically the little outer washers look really, really cool. Pivot collars, maybe that's the word I was looking for. Ornamental, yeah, so not functional. You don't really need them there, but man, do they look cool and add a little bit of just kind of visual interest there. So of course, this thing is made out of Bowler M390, which is a real darling super steel that everybody enjoys. This is actually produced by Reate, their factory, so you can imagine that it's actually really well built and executed because they make some of the best knives out there. Not necessarily the best designs from my point of view anyway, but when they do these kind of factory customs, I love it because you get really, really high execution for absolutely gorgeous designs like this that I normally wouldn't be able to track down on the very, very limited custom market. So big fan of that. Very sharp out of box. We got this nice little drop point, flat ground, satin finish. You got the multi-directional flat there with the way the brushing is nicely pulled. Really, really beautiful from that standpoint. It's about 7 3/4 inch long total. We got about 3 1/4 on the blade, and then on the handle it's about 4 1/2. The weight is about 4 ounces, which isn't super lightweight, isn't overly heavy. I mean, typically I would expect this to be maybe an ounce lighter, maybe closer to the 3-ounce range is kind of what I imagine as being a kind of regular weighted model at this size and scale. So this is kind of on the heftier side, but in hand, and the ergonomics are really great. Multiple grasps there. You can see it really, of course, this nice little sweep here is very nice for your fingers. And then you can really dig in to get a little bit of extra purchase with the milling here, kind of block jimping. And you can see this thing just, it feels good. And then of course you do have the really, really well executed jimping at the top of the blade, so you can really lock in there. And then the ergonomics, of course, really nice to get the full 4-finger grip. Your fingers don't really have to search because it's not like there's a lot of cutouts, so it's a very natural feel in hand also. So it's not just looks here, although this one definitely has legs. Great looking from that standpoint. Now, as far as kind of in-hand ergonomics, again, feels great. But when you start thinking about in pocket, I think that this clip is nice. It has enough room. It's not super low profile. So, but at the same time, the nice thing is, of course, it doesn't give you any hot spots while you're holding the knife, because of the fact that it is low profile enough to where it doesn't stick out, but it's not overly small there to where you're worried about, hey, I have to wear special pants for these. Like, this clip will actually fit over just regular jeans pretty easily there, and it'll catch nicely and kind of hold. And yeah, it's not super, low riding when you look at where the clip ends there, so you're going to have this much sticking out of your pocket. But the nice thing is you have a little bit, basically a pinch worth of purchase to pull it out and draw it out of your pocket. So for me, yeah, sure, maybe they could have scooted this down a little bit more, maybe basically put this screw hole here and then add another screw hole there, pull that down. But then that also does affect the proportions and the length, I think, of this particular clip. So I gotta say, I can't be too upset with that, and don't really see it as a flaw, more of just a choice, maybe not the choice I would have made if I was the one designing or executing it, but a choice nonetheless, and a choice on a really, really beautiful knife. So the action is really, really smooth and snappy, as you can see. Really just, man, it's dialed in. We got the cage ceramic ball bearing pivot, ultra smooth, really nice detent again, very snappy thumb stud geometry on here. And then, you can even front flip it with just a little bit of wrist action. Oh, missed it there. But yeah, just a little bit of wrist twist, and you can front flip it too. I wouldn't recommend it. It'd be nice if they released a front flipper model, because typically for his customs, the front flippers will be smaller, probably closer to this size. And then basically the larger model are the ones that are with the thumb studs. But I do really like a good thumb stud frame lock, because they're just so intuitive. They're so natural. You really, and then just your touch points with here, as you can see, look at that. I love that there's just a little bit of light kind of mechanical jimping there for your finger to grip off of. There's also a relief cutout, so when your hand goes in there, your thumb, you're not beating it up in any way. So you get a little bit of softness here in this extra bevel. Then you have it on this side, so you fit your finger in well. Then you're getting the purchase, so you can scoot this thing over really easily. And of course, it does have that lock bar stabilizer and insert there, so you're not going to be getting any lock stick or anything like that. It's going to be steel on steel contact. Again, one thing to note, that lock bar is sensitive, so if you just rest the finger here and you try to launch this thing, look at that. It doesn't want to go anywhere, so you might misfire it a couple times if you just have your finger resting there. But the minute you shift it, oh, let me get my thumb placed a little bit better. There we go. So once my finger is really away from the lock bar, or just lower down enough to where it's not actually adding any additional pressure, then bam. And the nice thing is, of course, yeah, that's one thing that you kind of have to worry about. But I think once you have the posture down, and you, who knows, maybe that's just your typical natural hand placement, you might have better posture for this knife than I do. I did have to make a small adjustment when I first got it, essentially to just kind of keep my fingers out of the way of putting any resting pressure on that lock bar. So really nice. Again, really slim and unobtrusive in the pocket. As far as model variants goes, you know, some dealers have custom anodized versions. Definitely check them for availability whenever you decide to Google X-Series Mula. But as far as comparable options go, you know, again, similar in size to that Benchmade bug out, but it feels way more substantial in pretty much every way. It's going to have a much thicker stock, so it's going to feel more robust, though. So it's not like it's just a heavy, you know, version. Let's be honest, guys, the bug out is meant to be super lightweight and, you know, super utilitarian. So it's lighter than your average knife at this size. It's otherwise that wouldn't have any real selling point. So this thing is already super lightweight, but yeah, in comparison, where the bug out is a little bit on the lighter side of medium, I'd say this is slightly on the heavier side of medium as well. And then really just the bottom line, guys, this is a near perfect production knife from a very desirable maker. I mean, Enrique Peña makes some when people are buying his slip joints for the prices that they are, you know, or a custom, you know, little front flipper trapper here for the prices that they go for, and they just have very basic steels, and, you know, very basic construction, although very well executed, you know, it's one of those things that lets you know really just how good some of these makers are. And I gotta say, yes, he does it right. And then of course, from a production standpoint, you really can't go wrong with Reate. They just do amazing stuff. I love the little collar here. Nice little pop of color. Great size. This is just, for me, a really nice EDC-able size. It's not by any means some type of slim gentleman's folder, but it's not some full-sized, real big beast of a knife. It's just right there on the slightly larger side of EDC, and slightly larger in terms of just a little bit more length and a little bit more heft than your average EDC would go. But for me, I think it looks great. So with all that said, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do hit like, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.